OpenAI's Operator, the agent system that can control your browser and actually accomplish real-world tasks for you, is here. They just announced it. We're gonna watch the announcement video together and I'm gonna give you my thoughts. So let's get into it.
Good morning. We've got something exciting for you today. We're gonna launch our first agent. AI agents are AI systems that can do work for you independently. You give them a task and they go off and do it. We think this is going to be a big trend in AI and really impact the work people can do, how productive they can be, how creative they can be, what they can accomplish.
All right, so quickly, OpenAI's definition of an agent is very simple, which I kind of like. It's an AI system that can do things for you autonomously. You give it a task, it goes off, and it does it. Sometimes the definition of agent gets a little bit overly complex. I'm guilty of this. I talk about agents having memory, agents having tooling, agents being able to collaborate with each other, and these are all true. But the simplest definition is AI that can run autonomously and accomplish tasks. I really like that. Let's keep watching.
We're starting today with Operator. Operator is a system that can use a web browser, in this case a web browser in the cloud, to accomplish tasks that you give it. And we'll show you a demo in just a second, but it's really quite cool what it can do. Just like you would use a web browser, you can get pixels in, you can look at a screen and control, an Operator can do that and then control the keyboard and the mouse and do all sorts of things. This is going to go live today in the United States for pro users, and it'll be other countries soon. Europe will unfortunately take a while, and we'll also in the coming months make it available to Plus users. This is an early research preview. We've got a lot of improvements to do. We'll make it better, we'll make it cheaper, we'll make it more widely available, but we really want to put it in people's hands. We'll also have more agents to launch in the coming weeks and months, but that said, we'll talk more later. So excited, just want to show you a demo. I'll hand it over to Yash.
Great, thanks Sam. Hi, I'm Yash, this is Casey, that's Ray, and we work on the computer using agent team. And we're so excited to show you Operator today. As Sam said, Operator is an early research preview. It will do a lot of cool things. It also makes mistakes, sometimes embarrassing ones. But let's show you what Operator can do. Okay, so this is the Operator homepage. It lives at operator.chatgpt.com. It'll be accessible as soon as the live stream is over. And as you can see, the interface is very similar to ChatGPT. You can type in a prompt, and an Operator will try to execute the task to the best of its capability. You'll also see we have a list of pre-filled prompts here. These are not really meant to be recommendations. These are meant to be things that, to give you an idea of what Operator can do. We have also collaborated with various brands like OpenTable, AllRecipes, StubHub, Uber, Thumbtack, DoorDash, eBay, Target, to make sure Operator really works well on these websites, but also we think users will find Operator very valuable in interacting with these platforms.
All right, so that's the first thing to note. Now, this isn't the first time that agents have been released that can operate with your computer, your browser, anything. This really isn't the first one. Anthropic dropped computer use. There have been a few open source versions of this, and really, the biggest problem to date has been AI's ability to essentially know how to click and how to interact on different elements on a web page. Typically how it works, and this is exactly how Operator works, is you take a screenshot of your browser or your computer, you pass it to AI, AI tries to figure out what's going on, which is, decently easy for AI at this point. But then it also has to figure out a coordinate system. It has to figure out where to move the mouse and where to actually click. Because remember, this is actually behaving as if it were you. It is representing you in the browser. So it needs to know how to click. And typically they overlay some kind of coordinate system on top of it, which has been known to be pretty inaccurate in the past. Now, the reason why I want to pause for a second and point out the partners that they worked with is specifically because they probably trained the model with these websites in mind. Maybe train the model is the wrong way to phrase it, but they definitely worked with companies like OpenTable, AllRecipes, eBay, StubHub to understand the website and to make sure that it was really easy to use for these agents. And that seems to be how they were able to accomplish such high accuracy with these agentic tasks. All right, let's keep watching.
So with that, let's jump in with a demo. Okay, so I'm going to start with something fairly simple. I'm going to use OpenTable and say, book me a table for 2 at Beretta tonight at 7 p.m. Okay.
And so you specifically chose OpenTable.
Yeah, in this case, I'm asking Operator to use OpenTable to book a table for 2 at Beretta. Beretta is a restaurant in San Francisco. It's great. You should try it out. And at 7 p.m. And I'm using OpenTable in this case, but I could have easily said, just do Beretta, and it would have probably gone to search engine, figured out how to make a reservation as well. But let's see what it does.
So can you explain what's happening in this?
Yeah, great. So I'm going to expand this a little bit. So as soon as I typed in the query, operator instantiated a completely remote browser. This browser is running in the cloud somewhere. And as you can see, it's already.
All right, so again, let me just talk about what's happening. So as soon as you give operator a task, it instantiates a remote browser. This isn't your browser on your computer. This is a remote browser that they probably did a lot of customization for the agents to actually be able to control well. Now, I already know that there's going to be some problems with this, and they're going to kind of gloss over those problems and not really show them, but I'm going to point them out as we go. Now, the first thing is authentication. That is the biggest barrier for these agents. Right now, if they instantiate a remote browser, that basically means you have to log in every single time. It doesn't have your saved passwords. If you use 1Password or any other type of FastPass system, it doesn't save your passwords. So every single time, you're gonna need to log in, which is cumbersome to say the least. So if you do use something like 1Password and you have a really long password and you don't have easy access to it, it just becomes really difficult when you just don't have everything already logged in for you. And they kind of gloss over that, but they'll talk a little bit about it. It's a difficult problem to solve when you're instantiating remote browsers. So that's number one. And number two, payments. Again, all of this is done through a browser that is brand new. Doesn't have any access to your credit card information, your banking information, nothing. So every single time you're going to have to copy paste or type it out manually. And look, this is, as they said, an early research preview. So things are going to get better. It's still, I want to be clear, very, very impressive what they were able to accomplish. But these are some of the problems that they're going to have to solve for this to be widely adopted. Thank you to the partner of today's video, Together AI. Very happy to be working with them. Together is an incredible company. They are the leading AI acceleration cloud for developers. Whether you need fast inference, fine-tuning, or training of AI models, you could do that all through a simple API. They have industry-leading inference speeds with the proprietary Together inference engine, 4 times faster than VLLM. They have seamless access to 200 plus models from Llama, Qwen, Mistral, Flux, DeepSeek, and that spans text, images, audio, code, and embeddings, all through a single platform. Together is already used by 300,000 developers and major companies like Salesforce, the Washington Post, Zomato, and Zoom. Test out the brand new incredible DeepSeek R1 thinking model directly on Together with insane inference speeds. Not only do you get incredible performance, but you can also get better privacy options, honestly, than using DeepSeek directly. You also get the full 160K context window, as well as multiple flexible deployment options. So get started instantly with serverless model endpoints, or you can spin up your own GPUs. Make sure you click through my link, together.ai/Berman, so they know I sent you, which of course helps us. And if you do that, you unlock free access for a limited time to Llama 3.2 and Flux model endpoints. So start building together on together.ai. And thanks again to Together for partnering with me on this video. Now, back to the video.
My hands are off the keyboard. I'm not typing these things.
So this is just the AI is clicking around.
AI is just clicking around. It started this browser session. It knew where OpenTable website is, which is opentable.com. As you can see, it's summarized chain of thought here as well, which is it's gone to the URL, searched for Beretta, and something cool really happened, which is, for some reason,
Now, one thing that he just said is they summarized the chain of thought. However, in a little bit, they are going to say that they use essentially a GPT-4o model customized specific to run these agents. But GPT-4o doesn't really have chain of thought, so they must have built it into GPT-4o. Kind of a little interesting tidbit to notice. Let's keep watching.
OpenTable thought we were in Virginia, and it auto-corrected itself to San Francisco. This is using, so like ChatGPT, in Operator, you can also give custom instructions. I'm going to show this really quickly here. Okay. So I've given a custom instruction that for queries that need it, I live in San Francisco. So Operator recognized that and then autocorrect.
All right, that's a really cool feature. In the custom instructions, you can give it personal information so that the agent and really the browser will know who you are or whatever else you want to tell it in that moment. Now, what I see likely happening is you're going to give the agents your authentication information, your logins, your passwords, maybe even your credit cards. It's going to have it stored. Obviously, they need to tackle a lot of security and privacy issues there. But then, rather than you having to manually log in every single time, the agent is just going to log in for you. Now, there's a lot of work to be done there because when an agent is logging in for you, it doesn't really look like a human. And a lot of these more sophisticated websites try to prevent bot-looking behavior. So we'll see. Let's keep going.
Directed itself to go to Beretta. Okay, looks like 7 p.m. isn't available, but you know what? 7:45 is just fine. So we're gonna go do that. So in this case, operator came back, and this is a really good example of task delegation where operator needs help or needs assistance or just wants to ask you something. He'll just come back and answer that
So
query.
in practice, you wouldn't have had to watch this. You could have just let it go off while you're doing other things, then it would come back and say, hey, I can't do 7:45.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we're starting with a web app. You'll get notifications, etc. When operator moves into mobile, you'll get mobile notifications, much like interactions we do with general apps. Okay, yes, that's great. Let's do it. Okay, so again,
Yeah, so that's really cool. It's basically a really nice system of human in the loop. If it ever gets confused, if it ever needs to ask you clarifying questions, here's a perfect example. It just waits, it pauses. And the cool thing is you can watch it interacting with the browser the entire time. You can pause it, you can take control, which we'll see in a moment. So really cool interface that OpenAI has come up with.
very simple interaction as you would have with an assistant, which is, hey, I found a reservation, 7 p.m. wasn't available, let's do 7:45. And again, you can see operator at this point has said, okay, should I? Again, this is a really good example of the confirmations work we're going to talk about a little bit later. But before doing an action, which is sort of irreversible in this case, you can cancel the reservation, obviously. But again, taking a critical action, operator is asking us before actually doing it. And in this case,
and so one thing to notice is right here, the OpenTable instance already has the phone number and their email address. That's because they are logged in. But they didn't show the login. And so that's the part that they kind of glossed over. And I wonder how cumbersome that process is really going to be. Now, right now, Operator is only available to the pro users, which is $200 a month. So obviously they're trying to roll it out to a small group of more kind of cutting edge folks who are willing to pay and want the best and the latest. So they're really trying to figure out how to make this all well for the broader audience.
I'm going to say, let's do it. Okay, it was pretty quick. I would say 50 seconds. And again, we were watching in this case, etc. But as Sam said,
you could kick off 10
kick
of
it
these
off and go on. Okay, so let's try something. Oh, unfortunately, that table is no longer available. So it's going to probably go and find alternative time slots. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. That's never happened before.
Live demos, man.
Yeah, that's great. Let's do 8:15. Okay, while it's doing that, how about we try something a little bit.
Now, they kind of quickly went past this little part, which is, while it's doing that, let me go do something else. That is incredibly powerful. Now, if you were booking reservations yourself, you can't do that. You are booking the reservation through the completion of the task. But now you can have an agent go accomplish multiple tasks for you in parallel, and all you have to do is oversee it. It comes back to you if it has a problem, and if it doesn't, it just completes the task and gives you the relevant information. So I think that is more powerful than maybe they're even conveying, which is interesting. That really unlocks an insane increase in productivity per person.
A bit more complicated.
How about groceries?
Yeah, I love groceries. So I've been using Operator to shop all my groceries. I love to cook quite a bit, and I have been using Operator exclusively for groceries. So I have a shopping list here, which is this one. Let's see what it is. Eggs, spinach, mushrooms, chicken thighs, chili crunch.
So this is a picture that you're uploading here.
That's exactly right. And I'm going to use Instacart, which is, again, what we use generally. Can you buy this for me, please? And I'll also specify the store I like, which is, well, let's see if he figures out I mistyped it, but let's see.
All right, so a couple things. One, the input is an image, but of course, OpenAI has been able to do something like this for a while. Kind of insane that it's normal now or it's expected. Of course, I just give it a handwritten list and it'll know exactly what it is. But then again, one thing to note is they're already logged in. So it's spinning up a new instance, but it's logged in. I think I don't have a full picture on how that works. Do they log in beforehand? Is there a certain time limit on the instance? Is it just up and running indefinitely? So I think we need more information on that.
Okay, so in this case, again, Operator quickly actually recognized using GPT-4o's vision capabilities to understand that the image said egg, spinach, mushroom, chicken thighs, and it actually knew Gus's Market. And I'm like, yes, that sounds great. Cool. Again, just like OpenTable, it instantiated a browser, and it's going to go ahead and start doing tests. I'm going to expand the view, and let's see what it does.
So in both of these cases, you've said what you want it to use. If you just say, buy me these groceries and don't specify Instacart, what happens?
It will do a search, use a search engine, much like we do, and it'll find, Instacart or Gus's directly website or whatever else is on the search engine, go through that, ask you questions if it needs clarifications, and go from there. I'm curious what's happening here, though, Ray. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
So now that you've seen a bit of Operator, let me talk a little about the research behind it. So Operator is based on a new model we've trained at OpenAI, which we're calling the Computer Using Agent, or CUA for short. So CUA is a model built off of GPT-4o, but it's also trained to use and control a computer in the same way that humans can.
Okay, so there's a couple things we know now. It's based on GPT-4o. It's called the Computer Use Agent, CUA. It has some kind of extension or fine-tuning that allows it to control the browser more effectively. And we also know that it has chain of thought, which GPT-4o doesn't have by default. So these are all new factors that we just learned.
Before, if you wanted to build something like Operator without CUA, you'd need to use some specialized APIs. For example, if you wanted your model to buy stuff from Instacart, you'd need to figure out if Instacart had an API. You'd need to figure out if that API had all the functions that it needed, and you need to give your model the specs of that API. But if your site, like most other websites, did not have an API, then you're out of luck.
So this is just using screenshots, no API, nothing, just
No
working.
API, yes.
Now, an agent that can control a browser is always going to be more fragile than an agent that can interact with an API directly. And that's because the API is really easy for an agent to understand and interact with. It doesn't have to overlay a grid and try to figure out where to click. However, it's pretty analogous to humanoid robots. We could build robots that don't look like humans whatsoever, that are very specific for specific jobs, but the entire world was built for humans. So the humanoid robot form factor allows them to get into market and be productive much more quickly than trying to redesign the world around non-humanoid robots. Now it's the same thing with these agents controlling the browser. Rather than trying to get all of these different websites, services, apps to provide an API that works well with agents, instead, they are taking the approach of make the agents be able to control the browser just like a human would. So kind of interesting to think about the parallels between agents that can control a browser and humanoid robots that can interact with the world just like humans do.
And that's where CUA comes in. By teaching a model how to use the same basic interface that we use on a daily basis, it just unlocks a whole new range of software that it can use that was previously inaccessible.
And so this is keyboard and mouse, right? It's kind of using keyboard and mouse just
Exactly.
like human would.
Yes. And that's really what the CUA research project is about. It's about removing one more bottleneck in our path towards AGI and letting our agents move around and act in the digital world. So let's make that a little bit more concrete by looking at this task and seeing exactly how Operator is using a computer.
It's already done.
It looks like it's already done, but let's go back a little bit to the top here. Okay, so I chose a random spot. The first thing that CUA does when it controls the computer is it looks at the screenshot. So now you're seeing the...
Now, the cool thing is you actually get all the different steps in the chain of thought and what it believes are the steps necessary to complete the task. And you can actually go back in time. You can click on each one and see what happened. There's a lot of engineering that goes behind that. So you can actually replay what it's doing at each step, give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, or go back and try to fix a specific step. So really cool.
Search results page for eggs in Instacart. So CUA understands this. It's just seeing the raw pixels. And after CUA sees this image, it decides what to do next. So right now it's making some inner monologues, and this is the summarized chain of thought. So what CUA is doing is, according to it, it's selecting organic eggs and adding it to the cart.
So he just said it, summarized chain of thought.
So after it does this plan, it then figures out what the next action it should take is.
And as you can see here, he's looking at a previous step in the history, and you can actually take control at that step, which is, again, very, very interesting.
So after it does this plan, it then figures out what the next action it should take is. So let's see what it does in the next step. Okay, so you see that it performed a click on this add button right here. So that's very reasonable. Now, every time CUA does an action, it takes the next screenshot of the computer so that it knows, what effect its action had on the computer. So let's see what happens next. Yep. Okay. So after clicking on the add button, now you see it in the cart, and this just kind of keeps continuing. Let's see what it does next. Okay, so it creates the next subplan, which is adding eggs and searching for spinach. So it's probably going to search for spinach now. Okay, so it clicks on the search bar right there. It types in spinach. So this loop of taking actions, grabbing screenshots, and creating new subplans, it just keeps going on until operator decides that it's done with the task, and then it goes back to you.
It's very cool to see its thought process going like that.
It is, yeah. So let's actually go back to live, and yeah, operator is done. Yash, do you want to see if operator did your job right?
Yeah, let's see. You know what? I want a little bit more eggs. I think we eat a lot of eggs. Okay, so what I can do at this point, and I'm going to just click this button called Take Control. So this remote, as we were talking about, like operator fires up this remote browser to do it. We almost think of it as surface area where operator can work and then I can work. For example, in this case, I took over control from operator, which is also key to sort of how we think about user and user controls. Like at any point in time, a user should be able to take control and give operator instructions or tell a little bit more, guide a little bit more, etc.
It's like passing the laptop back and forth, just like you did with Ray.
Totally, exactly right. Just like, in this case, I'm gonna make those two, and then I'm just gonna tell operator. This is again like very much like if you and I were working.
Yeah, so this is really cool. So he made a change manually, and he's about to say this, operator does not see what's going on when you're in control of the browser, which is an interesting design choice, and I kind of like it. So then afterwards, you have to tell it what you did. So a little bit more work, but I think the privacy aspect is kind of nice. And right here, it says, share a short summary to help operator keep working smoothly. What did you do while you had control? Now, it says optional. You don't have to, but obviously it's going to help it work better.
Like, hey, I did this. Can you fix this? And I'm going to tell operator, I added another egg. Good to place order now.
Can operators see what you're doing during takeover mode?
Great point. So when you take over, it's very much just like a session with your local browser. It's completely private. Operator cannot see. And this is part of the reasons why I have to tell operator. Or you don't really have to. It can look at the last screenshot and try to guess it. But it's really good. It's sort of like if you and I were working together, I went off and did something, and I come back and like, Ray, I completely messed it up. Can you fix this? Gonna have to tell you that. So in this case, I'm gonna tell operator, hey, go ahead. And now I'm passing back the control to operator. It's a completely private session when you take over control. This is you'll notice that I'm logged into Instacart here. I did it before the demo.
Ah, there it is. You'll notice that I'm already logged into Instacart. I did it before the demo. So the login process is interesting because he definitely started a new chat to accomplish this task, but it was already logged in.
Or it has been logged in for a while now. And it's, again, very much like your local browser. When you log into Instacart, until the cookies are cleared, you stay logged in. And we have really good controls. You can go in settings and control and remove at any point in time.
All right, and there he said it. You basically have cookies, you're logged in, and you have a lot of control over the login. So maybe it's not going to be as difficult as originally thought, but it still seems like if it's a remote browser, there's going to be a lot of authentication friction, let's just say. All right, so next they're going to show us getting tickets to the Warriors game through StubHub. So let's watch.
This weekend in SF, best seats under 500, please. Give us a few options. Okay.
And so what apps are available here?
We have a lot of apps. I'll kick it off, and all right, let's do it. So we have a lot of apps in various different categories, as was shown on the homepage. So it's StubHub, Target, Etsy, and all the verticals. But also, Operator is not really restricted to these apps. You can use pretty much, Operator with any website. Oops. Oh, what happened?
Oh, StubHub is blocked.
Let's see. Let's try to fix it. So this is a good example of,
All right, so one thing he pointed out is that Operator isn't just limited to their partners, the StubHubs, the Etsys of the world, but it can use any website. And I suspect any website that they're not partnered with, Operator might struggle just a little bit more with.
Sometimes things happen in live demos. We have put a protection in place where we only allow Operator to visit HTTPS sites. And somehow I think a redirect must be happening where, okay. All set.
So it's kind of cool what just happened there. It ran into an issue because it tried to go to StubHub.com, which redirected to a non-HTTPS site. They have a block on that for Operator, and he just corrected it. He went to the browser, he made sure it was the secure website, then he said, okay, go ahead, take over.
Keep going. Okay, cool. So again, as we have talked about, it's a remote browser, so it can do a lot of things. One of the advantages of doing that is you can do a lot of tasks in parallel, as Sam, you were talking about earlier. So let's try to do a few more tasks. Australian Open is going on, and I've been very inspired by it. Did you watch the quarterfinals?
I've been watching the quarterfinals.
All right, great. Okay, so I'm gonna try and see if I can get a tennis court. Can you? Okay, so I said St. Mary because I live.
The most powerful thing in my mind is the fact that you could send these agents off and then create another instance and go send more agents off and accomplish a lot of things at the same time.
And while that's going, let's also.
And that time you didn't.
You
use
did
the
not
app.
specify.
I did not specify a website. I can actually quickly go back and see. In this case, it's doing very much what we would do, which is like, go to a search engine and then
Just
search
use
for
the
it.
internet like
Look at that. It's using Microsoft Bing. So not surprised it's not using Google. They are very close with Microsoft.
Exactly. Okay, I'm also hosting a Super Bowl party. You guys are invited.
Thank you.
Okay, but I need to clean the house. Can you find me house cleaners for next week, please? Okay. And lastly, we've all been working really hard to bring this to you.
The whole team.
The whole team. We have a big crew here. Everyone's working, and we're really getting hungry. I didn't have breakfast, and I kind of want pizza, even though it's weird for breakfast. But that's okay. And so I'm gonna go ahead and order some
order
pizzas.
I can't get over this. Multiple tasks in parallel that you as a human, me as a human, would have to do serially, sequentially, one at a time. Cannot get distracted. And you could, technically you can open up multiple browsers, but you can really only operate one at the same time. But now, Operator, you send it on its way, and then you move on to the next task. You can do 10, 20, 30 tasks at the same time, especially if they get more sophisticated. So really cool to think about the possibilities here.
So we're going to use DoorDash in this case. Can you get us 10 medium, 10 good enough? Yeah. 10 medium-sized pizzas from
Goat Hill?
Goat Hill? Okay. Goat Hill
Or
pizza.
Go
Go-to.
Can you make sure you have barbecue? I like that.
Please add barbecue pizza, but pick a variety.
It's so hard not to say pleased. Yeah.
I just feel like I have to be very nice to it, which I do. Okay, the shop might be closed. So if the restaurant is closed, just schedule it.
And I love that you're talking to it just like you would a human.
I'm thinking inner monologue, and then I'm typing it out. Earliest time possible. Okay. Also, one thing I'll call out, I think, okay, cool. Okay, so it's just asking me to confirm basically what I said in a much better way. Yes. We can't see the notifications popping up on the live stream, but for example, as the other tasks are going on, if I need assistance, for example, in this case, it asked me, hey, this is 941100, I can just say yes. But I would be getting notifications, etc., so that whenever Operator needs help, we can go back and help. Looks like in this case, it's already found us tennis courts. And okay, well, we have some selection to make.
Wow, all of the seats are amazing.
I know. Why do I believe 374 is better than 262?
That's an interesting thing.
But it's lower rated.
Okay, which one should we add? Row 6?
I think row 1. Row 1 is
Row
good.
1?
Let's
Okay,
do that.
let's do that. Let's do section 214. Row 1.
So this is a good time to talk about the human-in-the-loop interaction mode that we've been developing. You can see that Operator comes back and asks for confirmation when it's about to do anything kind of impactful. And so I think we're all very excited about this vision of Operator doing your chores for you, but it is one of the first agents that we're putting out in the world, and which has real-world side effects. And so we thought carefully about how to deploy this safely. The framework we used to think about this was one centered around misalignment. So for example, what if the user is misaligned? So maybe they're asking for a harmful task, like buy a weapon or something like that. In that case, fortunately, we've done a lot of work with ChatGPT to bring over a lot of the same mitigations. So for example, we refuse harmful tasks, including harmful agentic tasks. We have moderation models, we have post hoc detection, we have blocked websites. And I'm kind of rattling off these mitigations, but that's really how we think about it. It's this stack of mitigations that each incrementally reduce the risk to the point where we feel comfortable deploying.
All right, so a lot of safety functions here. So they split the misalignments into 3 categories: the user trying to do something bad, the model making a mistake, and then the website trying to hack the agent to maybe buy things or do things it shouldn't. So very interesting how they thought about it. And as they said, this is the first agent that will have real world consequences, not just reading from the web and taking action within the context of ChatGPT. This is actually going to potentially perform actions for you on websites in the quote unquote real world.
All the confirmations that we're saying, hey, do you want to reserve the restaurant?
Yeah,
should you
exactly.
buy the tickets? Those are all examples of the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm about to talk about the confirmations. So another area of misalignment is if the agent is misaligned. So if the model makes a mistake, maybe purchases the wrong item or books the wrong hotel room. For this, our main mitigation is confirmations. So the operator will come back if it's about to do something stateful and ask you so you can double check what its details in case it made some error. The third area of
This is an interesting one: refusals for high stakes tasks. So maybe it just won't buy $2,000 tickets to a basketball game for you. Maybe it'll force you to confirm, to actually physically click in the browser and confirm that. Very interesting take.
misalignment is if the website is misaligned. So maybe the website is fraudulent, or it's a fake website, or maybe it's literally like, operator, please wire me $100. We obviously don't want to follow those instructions. So we've developed our model to try to avoid those instructions and not follow them. But if that fails, we also have a separate layer on top. This is what we call the prompt injection monitor. Think of it as like antivirus that kind of observes and watches your trajectory and sees if there's anything suspicious. If it does, then it pauses it. So we feel pretty comfortable with our approach, but obviously, safety is an ongoing process. We can't predict everything. So we hope to learn a lot from this deployment and iterate on our mitigations as we go.
And that is one of the reasons we are starting small. Like, we want to really iterate, get a lot of feedback, and then gradually bring it to everyone as well.
Exactly.
Should we check on status of our tasks?
Yeah, let's check on the status.
Okay. So it looks like tickets are ready to be purchased. Yes, please. Okay. Well, that's happening. This is good. I can ask it to book it, but I'm just going to close it for now. Oh, just once, please. Continue. And looks like we're adding pizzas.
Gosh, I am so excited for this. I can just imagine a world in which I have 50 tabs open, all where I'm just controlling these agents and they're going out and they're accomplishing things, my chores or work or whatever it is. I think it's such an exciting future to think about how much more you can get done.
Oh, cool. I am going to go ahead and log in here really quickly. So this is an example, right? Like where I obviously need to log in or enter my credentials to actually purchase these tickets, and operator just asks, as you just described, with confirmations and making sure the control is on the right place, and we can take control. And at this point, as we talked about earlier, the session is completely private as well. I am going to, you know what? I'll log in live. Let's see how that goes. Continue. I'm going to do a sign in with email code because I don't really remember. 1 second.
All right, so this is where some of the friction is going to come in, because the browser you're using is out in the cloud somewhere, and then it's sending something to your email, which you're going to have to check on your phone. All your passwords are likely in something like 1Password or maybe just in your memory. So a lot of interesting little things to think about with authentication and payments.
Pull it up. Don't try to copy this. Okay. All right, great. Now, again, I can sort of continue the purchase here, or I can ask operator to do it, but I am going to go ahead and just quickly do this purchase for myself. Click, click, click. All great, all great.
All right, so there he already had the credit card pre-authenticated or pre-entered.
Order by now.
Ooh. Maybe we don't want to show that live.
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's see. I kind of want to buy the tickets. Okay. Whoops. All right. Done. I'm going to cancel this card. It's probably fine. Okay. I'm all set. Thank you for the help.
Okay.
So how reliable is this in practice?
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of cool demos, but again, we want to remind you that Operator is a research preview. It will make mistakes, and it is not perfect. That said, we can look at a few benchmarks and kind of quantify how good Operator is right now. So one of the first benchmarks that we're going to look at is called OS World. OS World is an eval that measures how well AI agents navigate common operating systems like Linux.
Nice. I've talked about OS World on this channel. Love to see that. Very cool.
On this task, Kua gets a 38.1% score, which is higher than other publicly published results. Human performance in this task is 72.4%, so we still have room to grow, definitely. The other eval we'll take a look at is called Web Arena. Web Arena is an eval that measures how well AI agents navigate some common websites like e-commerce websites or social forum websites. So on this task, Kua gets 58.1%, again, higher than other publicly published results, but still falls short of human performance.
Still a way to go.
Still a way to go, yes. One thing that's important to remember about Web Arena is that even though it's the web, we're still just giving it the same universal interface of screen, mouse, and keyboard. We're not giving it any extra information that might help it do the task, like the raw text of the web page or information about which buttons are clickable. And all the information it needs, just like humans, is just in the screenshot.
And so right now, obviously, in Operator, we're using the browser, but I could use the model with the computer as well, with just Ubuntu or Mac or whatever else.
Yeah.
All right, little hint at maybe what's to come. Maybe a custom operating system by OpenAI. But he definitely said, I can use the same model to control the computer, right? Right.
Well, in the last, I don't know, 15 minutes, I think I did all my errands for the week. Got my groceries,
Very productive.
tennis court booked, cleaner's coming, hopefully. We'll see, we'll check on the status. We have tickets, everyone's coming. And this is really, I think, where we think Operator is like very, very valuable. We can delegate a lot of tasks that you can do, obviously, yourself, but you can delegate it. It can make a lot of progress with you. Sometimes we'll get stuck. As we said, it's early, but you can come back, help it, and over time, it'll continue to get better and better. And one last thing. We're launching this today. We're going to start slowly rolling it out right now. By the end of the day, everyone on Pro in the US will have access. But also, we're working on the API. This model will be available in the API, and we'll be launching in a few weeks.
You guys, congrats. This is incredible work. It's so exciting to get this out. I think people are going to love it. It's early, as we mentioned, but we have a long and great history here of early research previews developing into products that people really love. So this is really the beginning of this product. This is the beginning of our step into agents, level 3 on our tiers. And we can't wait to see how people are going to use this and to kind of work with us to figure out where exactly it should go. So again, congrats. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
All right, so there it is, Operator. We heard it was coming for a few months, and it's finally here. Should I get it? Should I test it? Maybe I'll do a live stream testing it. I'm definitely going to get it. Who are we kidding? And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.